A lot of people said that 2024 was a bit of a lighter year. With the Switch winding down, the PS5 recovering from their live service BS, and Microsoft, they actually released some nice stuff this year. And by releasing, I mean they bought the people that released the good stuff and called it their own, and then closed them. Capitalism. This year was more of a backlog year for me. I managed to play a bunch of games that I had on it in between the new releases. Except for Alive Alive, of course. I'll get to it, I promise. This new year promises to be a banger though. It has a new Nintendo console after all. Well, by the time of this recording, the Switch successor hasn't been shown yet, so... Future JV, put a picture of the new Nintendo console coming this year. Yeah, nice, thank you. Look at that, wow. I'm looking forward to whatever that thing is. Well then, you know the rules by now. Only games I played in 2024. Don't need too many new games. And no DLC. You hear that, Jeff? No DLC. All good? Then let's go. And finally, I am not playing Souls-like games, so don't expect to see Elden Ring on this list. Well, I guess I could play a Souls-like if it had a crab. Another Crab's Treasure is a Souls-like where you play as a crab that had his home stolen by a loan shark. Get it? Shark? So yeah, now you gotta go get it back. And to do that, you must adventure through the deep seas, fighting all kinds of marine life while using all kinds of garbage, treasure, as makeshift armor to protect you against danger. And when I say this game is a Souls-like, I mean it. You get the whole package: stamina-based combat, bonfires, souls that you lose each death, and of course, that bullshit difficulty we all know and love. So why I'm playing this if I don't enjoy Souls-like, you ask? Well, this one has a gun. I can't believe I'm putting this game here, but hey, I gotta give credit where credit is due. Yes, Call of Duty made into my list. I haven't played COD since the Modern Warfare days, the original ones, on the 360, and even then it was mostly just playing the multiplayer split screen with friends after school. But hey, this year's game launched day one on Game Pass thanks to Microsoft now owning Activision Blizzard, so what the hell. Let's see what the new modern Call of Duty is all about. And now we present the Black Ops 6 campaign experience. Shooty shooty blam blam! Stealth is optional. Holy sh*! Open world in my Call of Duty? We need more missiles! Oh my god, is that a golden toilet? I don't feel so good. Why do I have a grappling hook? Let me out! Let me out! 007 Casino Royale. Da, 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 da. Stealth is obligatory. We need more missiles! So that's how it feels to take drugs. Let me out! Yay, childhood trauma. And that's it. So yeah, pretty good campaign if you ask me. I still suck at the multiplayer though. So now that I have a PC that won't catch on fire when trying to run anything remotely demanding, I've been getting all the PlayStation games that are launching on PC, so at least I don't miss out on those. And to make sure I get the full experience, I even got a DualSense controller to get all that juicy HD rumble. It makes it go brrr. So anyway, here's the first one. My experience with Ratchet & Clank is pretty limited. I got that reboot on PS4 that tied into the movie. That kinda sucked, and I also messed around with the classic trilogy on Vita. Yes, I have a Vita. And real talk, pretty freaking awesome handheld, man. Sony did not really well. But okay, back to Rift Apart. It's cool. It makes use of the faster storage to do all those crazy shenanigans with portals, especially in the opening scene. Some cool weapons you can unlock. My favorite is Mr. Fungi because Mr. Fungi will f you up. The maps are pretty open to some side quests you can do, and the story is all about getting sucked into an alternate dimension where Ratchet ends up with not Clank, and Clank ends up with Furry Bait number 947. And in this dimension, surprise surprise, the villain is victorious. Wow, what a unique idea. But yeah, cool game. Again, that HD rumble though. I am very disappointed in you guys. Y'all keep complaining that Ubisoft doesn't make original games, it's just boring open world checklists here, buggy games there, but then when they release a very polished and straight up great games, where are you guys? You 2D platformers, I'm a grown up, I just play 3D games like a man! And then proceeds to only play online shooters and then complain online that games is boring or some shit. Seriously, it's right here. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. It's a great Metroidvania just like Metroid Dread. Counters, upgrades, cool visuals, and my favorite feature, you can take a screenshot at any time and use it as a map marker to help out remember which upgrades you need at each place. This is a godsend for Metroidvania, and I need this feature on every Metroidvania in the future. So this is a late entry into the list because I only came out in December, but man, I had to make room for it. Machine Games nailed the Indiana Jones vibe of this game. You really feel like you're playing the movie. Stupid name aside, you think Indiana Jones and the Great Circle would be just a first-person Uncharted clone, but instead it's an immersive scene just like Dishonored or Hitman, where they give you an open-area sandbox, tell you here's your objective, figure it out. Lots of optional side content as well, and the side content is actually related to the main story, so lots of things you can actually miss if you don't look around. Again, they don't tell you where things are, you gotta explore. The puzzles are very creative, and they just let you do them. I'm looking at you, God of War. The stealth is great as well. You have lots of options for objects you can pick up. You can wear disguises to avoid detection in certain areas, but if you do want to go into combat, you get some of the funniest fist fights out there. Like, it's so cartoony, some of the enemy reactions. It feels just like the movies. I can't stress this enough how much they nail the vibe.
What you have is your stupid American cartoons. Choo choo, choo choo, ha 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 ha. You laugh and dance, celebrating your own idiocy and drinking the piss you call beer.
Sackboy: A Big Adventure is basically Super Mario 3D World but with Little Big Planet. You jump around in a linear stage and collect stuff along the way to unlock the next stages. It doesn't hit the same high as Mario, but damn is it fun. I especially like the stages where everything moves in tune with the song. A famous licensed song, by the way. The type of song that would get this video immediately claimed if I played 5 seconds of it. Well, I don't really monetize my videos, so yeah, here. Enjoy the ad revenue, guys. Okay, fine, that's enough. Just like the main Little Big Planet games, you can customize your character with various customs, but unlike the main games, you can't create custom levels and share them around. Unless there are some mods I don't know about. Oh, never mind. The modding community is dead. But for what we have, this is very good. Visions of Mana is the next game in the Mana series. Yes, Secret of Mana is a whole ass series. Hell, it's not even the first game in said series. Square Enix a few years back finally localized Sacred Ascent 3, or what is now known as Trials of Mana, and even released a full remake of it. Visions of Mana takes that remake and just gives you more. Bigger world, bigger gameplay, better visuals, bigger story. The game has a neat class system that is tied to one of the elemental spirits in the game. You can freely change classes as you acquire them, and they come with their unique skills and special moves that you can even mix and match to create something more suited to your playstyle. I made mine a ninja cat with 100% crit rate that becomes stronger with each critical hit. The developers mentioned Xenoblade as one of their inspiration for the world, and I can see it. All that is missing is a giant overlevel monkey to show up. Oh god, he's here, run! It wouldn't be a video from me if I didn't have a roguelike deck builder, right? So, it is Wild Frost. a roguelike deck builder with a snow theme. The unique thing about this one is that you deploy troops on the 2 lanes in addition to play cards, and these troops have a counter on them that counts down after each action you take, like playing a card. Once that counter reaches 0, it will trigger its effect. It's way more tactical than other deck builders I've played, because you have to constantly think about troop positioning, their counters, optimizing which cards to use in what order. The coolest part though is that once you reach the end of the run and win, the boss of the next run is your previous deck. That is amazing. It's on Game Pass right now if you want to check it out, but I made sure to buy it for mobile as well. It's always nice to have these games on hand. Thousand Year Door is a classic. There's nothing else more I can say about it. Even though Paper Mario is my least favorite out of the Mario RPGs, I find the combat a bit too simple. You can't deny that this is the pinnacle of the series. This is them taking what worked with the original and making everything better. Unique and interesting characters that aren't just basic ass toads, chapters taking place in cool locations like a wrestling arena or a detective case on a train, emotional story beats and what have you. And this remake goes even further with welcome quality of life additions, thank God. Because if I had to go backtracking around linear corridors one more time, I swear to God, I will take a piece of paper, fold until it's shaped like Mario, then put it into a pretty nice envelope and throw it into the f***ing lava! So yeah, thank you Thousand Year Door remake. The Plucky Squire is a lovely puzzle platformer with a very creative style. You're a hero in a children's storybook where you fight an evil wizard. Pretty basic stuff, but then the wizard suddenly uses some weird magic that pulls you out of the book, and now you're all 3D and shit. Later, you also gain some of those fourth wall breaking powers for yourself, and use them to solve many puzzles to stop the wizard from rewriting the story. Some of those powers include being able to flip the pages of the book to go back to previous areas, tilting the book to make large objects roll around, freezing objects in time, and even dropping a freaky bomb onto the book to blow some stuff out. You constantly go from the 2D drawings of the book to the 3D area of the kid's desk. Sometimes they even change things up during bosses, where the gameplay changes completely. The writing is also pretty funny and charming, but I don't want to spoil much of it. It's better to experience it for yourself. I'm just gonna say right away, this is the best Mario Party game. They really went all out of it. The new boards are all great, and they throw in 2 remade boards from Mario Party 1 and Mario Party 2, totally 7 boards. Which is a pretty cool idea, kinda like Mario Kart with the retro tracks. Each board also has their own unique items, with one board in particular having like a bajillion items with 100 plus different stores. There's this new Jamboree buddy mechanic that changes things up without being super broken. I mean, you do get a unique perk, plus the ability to buy 2 stars at once, but they only last for 2 turns, and can be easily stolen by a player passing by. Some extra modes like a rhythm cooking game, some motion control ball rolling minigame, a flying mode that will destroy your arms, and some awesome online modes like the Copathlon and Bowser's Kaboom Squad give it even more variety, even if you'll be spending more time with the board game anyway. Oh yeah, there's even a story mode. It's basically just a glorified minigame compilation, but it's kinda neat to walk around the board and see them being prepared for the party. The only complaint I have is that there aren't many minigames, which sounds weird because the game advertises itself as the largest amount of minigames, but you have to put an asterisk on that. Sure, you have the most amount of minigames, but they're divided into so many categories that, for example, if you don't play with motion controls and take only the 4-player minigames, the ones that you'll be playing the most, you'll be seeing the same ones over and over again constantly. Also, f*** Gatekeepers. That minigame is the worst. Neon White is a blast. This is a fast-paced action platformer where you must complete a stage as fast as possible. You get these cards, and you can choose between either use them as a weapon to kill the enemies or spend them to use a unique platforming ability. There is mostly a set path, but if you want those high scores, you gotta be creative and take shortcuts. and the game encourages repetition. As you get better at the stage, you unlock hints and other collectibles so you can return to it and try different routes. These collectibles you find on the stages you can then give to the other characters and unlocks challenge levels and story scenes. Oh yeah, the story? You're kinda dead. But instead of going to heaven, you end up in this weird place where it's kinda like heaven, with amnesia of course. And you need to compete with each people for the amusement of these asshole deities because f you. And if you fail, you get like super dead I guess. If you win, you get ice cream. Worth it. This feels like a dream, man. A new Mario & Luigi game after the original development studio went bankrupt. Apparently, the developers scattered around to multiple different studios like Monolith Soft and ILCA, and the developers of this game, Acquire, who worked on Octopath Traveler. And you know how much I love this series. Immediately when you look at the game, you notice right away these animations, they look so good. That's some next level games type shit. Original characters are back with full force as well. You travel to a completely new world, so no grass level, sand level, forest level, ice level, and most importantly, no stupid toads. Instead, you get these weird bug people, and the story is about this world being split in multiple islands because the tree ran out of electricity? Sure, and now you plant a new one and have to sail in a ship-shaped island, looking for the island and connecting them with this new tree. That must be the brothership. One thing I'm not a fan of is, although it's quite charming, the characters talk way too much. Like to the point of me having to say, yeah I get it, multiple times. And also for some weird design reason, you select both brothers' action with the A button, but then you switch to the B button for Luigi's attack prompts. The previous games were always A for Mario and B for Luigi, for everything. So that messed up my brain at the start. Still a very solid game and much better than Paper Jam. It's those toads, man. Always those toads. At number 7 we have a Zelda game. But not just a Zelda game, I mean a Zelda game. As in you play as Zelda for the first time. And no, that did not count. This is a new top-down Zelda game that breaks the conventions of Zelda. Aonuma's favorite phrase. And by that, they mean doing Breath of the Wild but top-down. Like seriously, even the menus are the same. But it's cool though. In this game you have the power to summon a bunch of objects and even enemies to progress, and you get to be very creative on some places. The enemies are kinda dumb and slow, so what I like to do is just grabbing them and just dropping them over the chasm. Also, we finally have dungeons back, like real dungeons. They're not the best or anything, but hey, that Deku dungeon is pretty cool. Oh yeah, this game has lore. That's something that caught me by surprise. If you thought Nintendo abandoned the Zelda timeline, you're in for a pleasant surprise. This is also, in my opinion, the most fun games to 100% thanks to the liberty you get, and it's not super overwhelming like Tears of the Kingdom. And there are cats. Lots and lots of cats. I take it back, this is the best Zelda game. Dungeons of Hinterberg was a big surprise. I remember seeing this game at an Xbox showcase and not thinking much about it, but then I decided to try it out on Game Pass, and oh my god, I'm glad I did. I kid you not, this is Persona, but in Austria. This is... What is Persona in German? Let's see. Persona? Really, Germany? Your language is weird as shit. And when I want to make a funny joke you go and ruin it? Alright, fine. This is Persona. In German. Okay, so this game is about this weird little village that mysteriously had all these crazy dungeons full of monsters just show up, and the mayor decided to turn them into a tourist attraction, instead of, you know, get rid of them, like a normal person. What could possibly go wrong? Like Persona, the game works on a calendar where you choose to build relationship with the villagers or go into dungeons to kill monsters. Unlike Persona though, you don't have a time limit, something that I didn't know until halfway through the game. So once I discovered that fact, let's just say that the dungeons had to wait a little until I maximized all those social links. I still couldn't get away from the dungeons that long though. They're so cool. They're not that long, but they're so creative. Each one has its own gimmick, so we have boxes, minecarts, jelly, shrooms, snowboarding, lasers, giant flying chicken, space, underwater, and lots more. Each area also gives you unique powers that you use for combat and to solve puzzles. Maybe that's why the mayor wanted to keep these dungeons around. This is a killer holiday trip. Man, if poker is so good, why haven't they made Poker 2? What is this? A second roguelike deck builder in the same list? That must be illegal or something. Just like Vampire Survivors, Balatro is a pain in the ass to put down. You just want to keep playing this shit over and over and one more run and trying different deck ideas. Oh, maybe I could try a deck with only face cards, or maybe a deck with only red colored cards. So let me explain why this is so addictive. Balatro is, like I said, a roguelike deck builder. It uses the rules of virtual poker, where you try to build a good hand by using discards and then submitting for points. Unlike normal poker though, you collect joker cards that add multiple different powers to your deck. You also have access to special cards like Tarot and Spectral cards that can change your cards, or you can even draft new cards to add to your deck. By the end of a few rounds, you have a deck with like Golden Kings, aces that work as any suit, glass cards, stone cards, lucky cards, steel cards, and then you add the jokers in that mixes things up, and you got infinite possibilities for crazy decks. As you progress, the point requirements go bigger and bigger. At the end of each stage you fight a boss that changes the rules a bit. Sometimes you can't use diamond cards, sometimes you can only play one hand, sometimes all the cards get drawn face down because f*** you. You're always pushed to change your strategy because you never know what rules can be changed that completely ruin your strategy. After you beat a run, you unlock higher difficulties and different decks that changes things up even more. So now you get it. You go for another run, and another, and another, next thing you know, it's tomorrow. And then you go for another run because of the last one, you spend your money on that stupid Wheel of Fortune card because maybe you get lucky, but then it does nothing for the 100th time, 1 in 4 chance my ass, you piece of shit! We were talking about Persona earlier, right? Persona 3 has been a weird game, where it never really got a definitive edition. You have the base game, then you have Face, which adds extra story elements, and then you have Portable, that adds more quality of life upgrades and a female protagonist, but removes the extra story, and also turns the game into a visual novel. So Reload comes as the solution to that problem, and it still doesn't have the extra content from Fast and Portable. Oh hey, it did get the extra story as DLC though, so that's something. But nah, I'm joking. This is by far the best version of Persona 3. This was my first time finishing the game, and while it doesn't surpass Persona 4 as my favorite Persona game, this is still an excellent entry. The story is about the secret 25th hour that takes place between midnight and 1 AM, but only certain people can see it. The majority of people get just frozen in time inside a coffin. During this dark hour, as the game calls it, there is this giant tower dungeon called Tartarus, and that's where you'll be spending most of the dark hour in. As the story progresses, you get to explore higher levels of Tartarus, and with each full moon you fight a boss. The progression is a bit different from Persona 4 and 5, but I dig it. It fixes the weird period where the person is just unconscious if you finish their palace too early. Here you gotta use Tartarus and your social links to train for the full moon, and that's a much better progression system. The music got remixes as well, and it's as catchy as ever. It's Persona, what do you expect? Here is a game I was not expecting to like that much. I know the launch was pretty rough, especially if you played on last gen console, and I'm pretty sure it's still pretty bad on those. But if you play this on a current gen console, holy shit, this game is amazing. is a first-person RPG that takes place in a futuristic city. You choose your origin story that unlocks different paths you can take throughout the game. The plot is basically you find yourself with a chip implanted into your brain that contains the soul of a dead rock star that was also a terrorist. And he's also Keanu Reeves. Actually, that doesn't sound too bad. Who doesn't want to have Keanu Reeves in their head?
You're breathtaking!
The problem is that this chip is slowly killing you. If you don't find a way to take it out, the soul of this guy will take over your body. The city itself is the real highlight though. This is an open world done right. It's not particularly big, but it's so dense that I honestly just walk through it to take in the sights. The side quests are very well made, and you can meet other characters, build relationships, and even date them. Being in the future, you have access to multiple different implants that you can install and give you different abilities such as increased armor, dashing, double jumps, arm weapon, hacking, and lots more. The hacking in particular is also pretty cool. You can take over cameras, turrets, disable enemy weapons and augments, make them fight by your side, create traps, or just straight up kill them if you have the right skills. The game gives you lots of different approaches to each encounter. And I haven't even mentioned the best part, the Phantom Liberty DLC. My time at Sandrock has to be one of the best cozy games ever made. It's a sequel to My Time in Portia, where you play as a builder that just moved into a town that needs help building literally everything. With Sandrock's case, the situation is even worse because you see, you're in the middle of the goddamn desert, and water is running out. Just like in Portia, you take up building projects to advance the story, each one requiring rarer materials and better machines to make. And this game is long, like it took me more than 100 hours to finish the story. I did do all the side content as well, of course. As you progress the game, it really gives you that sense of community, where everyone is working together to turn Sandrock into a living town. And the things you build make you feel like you're really making a difference. By the end of the game, I fell in love with each character. Each one with their own stories and challenges to overcome, and you get to help each one of them to achieve their dreams. Like one of the villagers want to create her own freaking theme park. She started with a small little arcade with one machine, and you help her upgrade it many times until by the end you have a giant theme park with lots of tourists, and you discover that she wanted all of this only so she could make her son happy. Every village has their own in-depth questline like this. And of course, you can marry them and have a kid. It wouldn't be a farming sim without it, would it? The map is huge too. In Portia you had like the town and then some small areas where you fight the dungeon to fight monsters and collect materials. In Sandrock you just keep unlocking more and more of the map. You get the town, mines, poisonous canyon with a dungeon, the main desert with more dungeons, a separate area with another dungeon, and then you get to a mountainous area with even more dungeons, multiple abandoned facilities which are, you guessed it, more dungeons. Hell, later into the story you begin a project to build a whole ass tunnel for Portia. I was already expecting you get to go to Portia as well. Using a horse and fast travel is a must, or else you'll be spending the entire day just walking. I cannot wait for the new game. Okay, time for some quickfire honorable mentions before we get to number 1. More Spider-Man, more Jedi Fallen Order. Really wanted to play more, but for some reason my Xbox went every time I arrived at the canyon area. Cozy potion making game with awesome animation and extreme min-maxing. Very fun movement, but the momentum kinda falls flat. Platformer that wants to be Donkey Kong Country but has Crash Bandicoot physics. My brain wasn't working properly. A game about balls. A game about holes. Great campaign, get away from the grind. Beautiful farming sim with in-depth crafting, and the worst battle system ever made. Legit the most polished Game Freak game in the last decade. I'm a cat. I'm a cat. If you watched my Game Awards voting video, you know what the game is. the game that got snubbed. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, or Yakuza 8 as I like to call it, is the second game in the new RPG formula, and holy shit, this is how you make a sequel. Everything is better than Yakuza 7. The battle system is much more refined. You can move around to better position yourself, the enemies have arrows on them that shows where they will be knocked back so you can plan combos. The skills shows the area of effect, and you can position yourself so you make sure it hits the enemies you want to hit. You can choose if you want to pick up an object on the ground or not. The game is much more balanced and doesn't have the huge level spikes unlike Yakuza 7. So in this game you actually go to Hawaii this time, which means that people speak English and Ichiban, being Japanese, doesn't understand jack. Side note, if you play this game with the English dub, it's pretty freaking hilarious.
Aloha. Aloha. This mean anything to you?
Do I speak Japanese?
Oh, you can read it!
You just come in from Japan? I got you. Now, hop in.
Hey, alright!
And Hawaii has a lot of shit to do. You can be a delivery man on a bike, doing crazy tricks and stuff. You can ride the railway and take pictures of weird men on their underwear. You can go to an abandoned island resort and rebuild it Animal Crossing style, and I swear to God, there's even a Pokemon mode. But instead of cute little monsters you get weird ass men. It's Yakuza after all. Some of these side modes can totally be their own game, seriously. Especially that Animal Crossing mode. I must have spent like 40 hours on that mode alone. There are some new classes too, except for Kiryu. Kiryu doesn't need classes. Kiryu's class is Punch. Hell, one of Kiryu's skills is literally breaking free of the turn-based combat and just start beating the shit out of the enemy. The story is pure cinema. I'm thinking we won't be seeing much of Kiryu in the next mainline Yakuza, so this game was a nice closure for him. And we also got a nice development for Ichiban and the other characters. Some of these characters could honestly start their own games now. The story takes place with Ichiban now working a normal job helping other former Yakuza members finding jobs. But of course, he loses the job too thanks to a viral report. A report made by the most evil villain in the history of the franchise. A person so evil, I get even goosebumps saying their name. I'm talking about, of course, VTubers. So yeah, this little bitch released a viral video lying about Ichiban's job because now he's putting criminals among the good people and gets him and his friends fired. And for some reason he ends up in Hawaii. Well, there is one, but I'm not going into details here. You gotta play for yourself. After playing all the previous Yakuza games, of course. Seriously, play Yakuza! I'm JV, and this year we're gonna be a pirate.
You're our favorite indeed. Being a pirate is our recipe. Do what you want 'cause a pirate is free. You are a pirate.